Hey Mike, this is Nancy, and this is my part two. I am going to I want to share with you my blunders of part one, and I'm still hoping that I can salvage the work that I did do. But I'm going to show you here real quick. This one I am using Camtasia, which I think I said that right. I totally Camtasia. Yeah, this is totally forgot about Camtasia. I've never used it before. I had downloaded it Tuesday night when we had our Google Hangout. Forgot all about it because QuickTime is just my reflexive screencasting go-to software. So did my QuickTime screencast, lost track of my time, ended up doing it for an hour and 13 minutes. Yay me. No, not yay me. So of course I can't export that to YouTube because it's too long. They want it to be in 15-minute clips or less. So I thought, sure, no big deal. I'll just export it into iMovie and then break it down into several different 15-minute clips into YouTube and then send them on over. So problem solved, right? Well, no, because when I imported it into iMovie, it all came out red. It's all here, but it's all red. So I'm thinking, what the heck is going on now? I forgot to say that technology is great, as my mantra goes. And so I did a little bit of a Google search to figure out what the heck. And on the Apple support forum, this is a known issue that everybody's trying to fix, and they're saying it's both an Apple issue as well as a QuickTime issue. And they said that we need to export it with this 720 pixel resolution thing. So I sent my QuickTime over into the world of exporting, and it's almost done. So in theory, when that's all done exported, I'll be able to re-import it into iMovie, break it down into the different sections, send it to YouTube, send it to you, and life will be grand. But the cool news is I found some really cool stuff in doing this, even though I went above and beyond the time limit. But I really started out, talked through. It's got to be so boring for you to listen to all this, I have to be honest, but talked through trying to figure out the difference between why some teachers choose it versus why some teachers should choose it. And I didn't know if I was thinking too deeply about that, but that was part of my process in getting where I needed to go. I even explored some YouTube stuff, wasn't really loving what I found out there. Didn't spend much time other than this Anne Merchant, who is a what did I find? She was a what did they call her? I wrote it. Oh, probably didn't write it yet over here. She is a award. There we go. She is an award-winning teacher from Australia, and talking about how and why she uses technology in her classroom. And it was an hour-long speech, so I haven't gotten around to listening to it all. Then I decided to go scholarly, and I found some articles that were like 13 years old, and I'm thinking, wow, way too old, even though their topics were like spot on with what we were trying to find here. But in the process of that, I found a couple of other really good articles that I'm going to look at. There was a great one about Taiwan teachers, but then in the end, I was most excited about finding this article that had to do with the technological divide here in the United States. And that was where I ended up with my hour and 14 minutes. So that is where I left off with my, like I said, my last recording. So I'm going to kind of start this recording and bring up, here we go, this article, which I really am kind of impressed with. Teachers and Technology, the Technological Divide. And the end of my last recording does discuss the different components to this. So it talks about administrators, and it even talked about whether or not those darn teachers are to blame, and whatever. But this I want to dig into a little bit more. Unfortunately, Preview, the PDF reader on my computer, is not letting me annotate right on this article, which is kind of a bummer. I know that I could probably go ahead and download Adobe, but I'm not going to do that right this second. So there we go. So I want to read through this, and I'm going to keep an eye on my time this time, so I don't go for another hour, and see what I can find, and kind of summarize all of this here for you. So the education system in the United States continues to grapple with the adapting to change, especially when it comes to integrating technology in the curriculum. At times it appears as if technology is the kryptonite to the education system's Superman. And let's see here. I want to go down to, I talked about a lot of that in my first recording, so I'm not going to. Here we go. Summary and recommendations. Some basic fundamental conflicts exist between implementation of the new technologies and the overall culture of the education system. In many schools, a substantial change in the existing culture will be necessary to make effective use of ICT. ICT requires thinking outside the box, and the current educational culture discourages deviation from the standardized curriculum. The practice of teaching to the test runs counter to the ICT culture, which encourages communication and interaction between students and teachers. Having administrators and educators discuss how to integrate technology into their school's curriculum is the first step toward addressing the technological divide. The more that administrators use transformational leadership with teachers in their decisions about technology, the sooner technological divide will fade away. The following accommodations may be helpful. Teachers and administrators need to keep abreast of current technologies and collaborate when making decisions about using technology in the school. I totally agree with this completely. It's interesting. Our school went to a one-to-one initiative using MacBook Pro laptops about 5 years ago. And this year, they, for the 6th graders, did a little pilot. So just the 6th grade class all have Chromebooks, just because the MacBook Pros were being damaged, they were being lost. There's no monies to replace them, things like that. So they were piloting a cheaper solution, and there isn't anybody that is happy with the Chromebooks. So interesting, I did hear through the grapevine, almost by accident, that they are looking at getting new MacBook Pros. But something that they have to consider is making sure they're going to discuss with our third-party affiliates, or whoever, how you want to talk about it. Like edu707 is the servicer for our online courses, yet they only work with even though it's web-based, it will only work on Firefox. Interestingly enough, about 3 years ago, our school sent out a mass announcement that the school is no longer supporting the use of the Firefox browser. If anything that they're doing does not work and they're using Firefox, they don't even want to hear about it. So they have to realize that they would be forcing a situation if we all went back to brand new operating systems with the Mavericks operating system or newer hardware, things like that. But yet, I'm the only one essentially that knows that information. So getting back to this point, teachers and administrators need to keep abreast. I keep very abreast, but yet they don't tap into teacher knowledge, and it's very hard for me to know what they're talking about. Everything's secret behind closed doors, and then they'll show up at a meeting saying, hey, good news, we've made all these decisions, and then they just lay it out for the staff. So educators need ongoing, authentic, hands-on professional development on technological integration into the curriculum. And that is the absolute truth. You know, I do believe that in the next 5 or 6 years, we're going to see this huge turnover in staff. Our staff will be younger. They will become more of the digital natives, and the digital immigrants will be more like me or other people that are in my the cohort that are just learning and, you know, deeply embedded into technology. But there's still people that need this professional development. I have so many teaching staff friends that, they come to me and they're like, oh my gosh, I just love what you know. And, they'll say something like, oh, I just wish I knew how to do this. And I'm like, oh, there's this great application. And if you do this and this, that would make your life that much easier. And then they immediately get heart palpitations and they start to sweat when they think about learning something new, when they just feel like they don't have the time. And we just need the time. We need time, hands-on professional development time. Don't just say, here's a new computer. It's got lots of potential. Go get them. Educators need continuous technological support for curriculum planning, development of teacher methodology, lesson planning, and speedy resolution of hardware and software glitches. If this isn't the truth, I don't know what is. Speedy resolution of hardware and software glitches. Our student laptops are all locked down. Of course, it makes perfect sense with an administrative code. Of course, it makes perfect sense so that they can't download things from the web. Now, for some reason, they have no, other than signing an acceptable use policy that says they won't, we have absolutely nothing hardcore in place keeping these kids from stealing music and movies. They are downloading them like people drink water. But at the same time, here we are using E2020, online learning, videos are critical, and Java doing updates every 1 to 3 days. So every time the videos go glitchy, they need a Java update. So because they have to make that administrative, they won't let me do the updates. But yet, there's only one tech person that is troubleshooting computers for an entire district. And it's very difficult. We might have students that sit for hours unable to do work. That is unacceptable, and it's an unacceptable loss of work time. So this is real, and it's not just me, and it's not just that one situation. This is district-wide, where teachers are like, you know what? This thing is glitchy, it doesn't work right, this one kid can log on, another kid can't log on, it doesn't work flawlessly, but you know what? I know my content, I can deliver it through a lecture and have them do a worksheet, and I know that that's going to work for me. So, and then finally, schools should integrate themselves into the ICT culture and instill it as a principal force in their central curriculum and current policies. And, this is true. In order to get funding for it, schools should have this part of their district school improvement plans, and they should all be on the same page with this. And they really, really need to start getting surveys. They need to get input from the teaching staff, the support staff, anybody that is using technology. If we're expected to use it and teach with it as well as teach it, this stuff has to be a driving force in our curriculum and in our current policies. So I'm going to go back to my notes and kind of put all of this together and try to just really re-answer these questions. So why some teachers choose to make the decisions that facilitate technology integration into their courses. And, if I go back to these websites that I have bookmarked, and listed here, really, this ability to differentiate and reach students of all abilities, to be able to help our students be creative problem solvers, demonstrate mastery of concepts by altering the simulation based upon understanding and how it works. I'm still curious. I'm willing to bet an hour of this was a keynote speaker from Anne. Merchant. She was this award-winning teacher from Australia, and I'm willing to bet in that 1 hour keynote she would also deliver quite a few examples. But most of the stuff that I read really ties back to the same thing. We are digital immigrants teaching back to our digital natives. They learn differently, they retain stuff differently, they find information differently, and we have to meet them where they are and take them to a place that nobody knows where they're going. So it's quite the demand. And then why teachers do not choose not to make decisions that facilitate technology. And it's more and more evident that a lot of teachers are nearing the end of their career. When I am working with teachers that have taught longer than I've been alive, and could have retired 10 years ago, but choose to keep teaching because it's their passion, it's their life, it's all they've ever done and known. But on the other flip side, they could leave any time. So, kind of talking to a force like that, it's two sides of a coin. Two sides of a coin. If they're going to stay in it, they got to stay in it and stay current. But at the same time, after 40 years, they're thinking, you know what, buddy? You are young enough to be my grandchild, and I'm not going to stand here and let you tell me what to do. I am not arguing in their favor that they should not keep themselves current and knowledgeable and able to keep up with students, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that their level of content knowledge has diminished over time. How they deliver it, maybe yes. What they know, their life experiences, and how their life experiences, their teaching experiences can shape them as a force of knowledge, we cannot discount that. So I understand that there's some people that are just old enough and sassy enough to say, I'm not doing it. I also know from experience that teachers are very frustrated that their pick number based on student achievement, goes back to how well they did in a class. Yet when a student is sitting there with technology in their lap, they have a choice. They've got a choice to get their work done. They've got a choice to help be part of their own educational learning and process. Yet many students sit back and say, I don't like this teacher, I don't like this school, I don't like this class or this content, therefore I'm going to sit here and listen to music and download videos and forget everything. Forget, basically not forget, but choose to not do what they're asked to do, and therefore they cannot perform on a summative assignment or a summative assessment. And that's the bottom line. Leading that proverbial horse to water and making them drink. So many teachers are saying, hey, my career, my evaluation, and my livelihood is dependent on you attempting to learn this material. And apparently that piece of technology sitting in front of you is distracting versus a helpful tool. So absolutely, there are teachers that are choosing not to facilitate this type of technological integration in their courses because it's only coming back to hurt them. What have we learned about that? Well, we're learning that if we change our approach and not just use technology as a tool to learn the same information, but use technology as a tool to learn the information differently. That is a huge bridge to cross. And again, that ties directly back to within this article, this summary, and the needing this continuous technological support and instill this as a principal force in the central curriculum. So that pretty much summarizes my about 2 hours worth. I believe by the time I sum this up, I'm going to end up with about 2 hours worth of research for this topic. But that is the summary for me of why some teachers choose to make those decisions to integrate and facilitate technology, and then why some do not. So I don't think I touched on, though, the funding and the availability. Those are very real reasons, again, not to have that. I don't know that that is completely within a teacher's control in terms of, not necessarily a choice. I don't choose to not take my technology further because my school really needs to update the hardware that we currently have. So that's not necessarily a choice, but it's a real reason why some people may or may not have access to those things. So that is the summary of my findings. And now should have multiple, by the time I'm done, I should have multiple YouTube clips if I can break apart an iMovie and upload those to YouTube. And I will also have this Camtasia second video. So I definitely have a lot of technology that I can see how that went for me. And now I will finish that part up and move on to the secret essay writing. See you later, Mike. Bye.